to last. With the webs I'm weaving, I could change the past. With all I'm achieving, got my foot on gas. Never stop competing. If you break like glass, then this life's gonna eat 'em. Make mistakes real fast, then you learn how to beat 'em. If you take off the cast, you can see all the healing. If the pain's in the past, move on from the grave and put your foot on the gas.
Not too long ago, I don't know, it was like a couple of days ago, Just Blog Baby put out, 10, I think it was like 10 free agents that the Raiders should still go after.
Yeah, I did that. I did.
You did that article?
Yeah, I did two of them actually. I did one a couple of weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, and I did an updated version that dropped yesterday because obviously Bradbury was a no-go, and a couple other guys are off the list. But I definitely emphasized Williams. And I also emphasized Landon Collins. Safety.
Yeah, Landon Collins was definitely on there because I'm actually looking at the article as we speak.
Yeah.
So, Landon Collins, AJ Abuye. I thought AJ Abuye was already signed, if I'm not mistaken. But if he's not, then I think getting if we can't, knowing that we didn't go for Bradbury, I think we could get a Landon Collins or AJ Abuye for a minimum. I don't think we need to break the bank with those two corners at this. Well, Landon Collins plays safety, but AJ Abuye is a corner. But I think we can't. I don't think we could need to break the bank with those two.
No, and they wouldn't necessarily break the bank. None of these cornerbacks are gonna warrant that type of money. I even wrote about Kevin King. These guys will all be depth pieces at this point. Trayvon Mullen and Rocky Center. They're counting on those two guys, especially Mullen. Man, they're counting on him being healthy. Which is still a question mark. They're banking that he's going to regain the 2020 form, even the 2019 form at this point. But that's what I think I emphasized, at least one more corner going into camp. Once they do the June 1st cuts, we'll see what they do. But definitely defensive back, cornerback, and right tackle are still huge question marks in my opinion.
Even defensive tackle with Ndamukong Suh or Eddie Goldman?
Yeah, I was looking at that too. I think at this point, man, I don't think they're going to get Suh. And that's just my opinion. I think they just have so many defensive tackles, and they're probably just going to let them go out there, duke it out. Jonathan Hankins is going to be the nose tackle, obviously. I think that's pretty much, a for sure thing. But then the rest of the rotation, they're going to figure it out that way. They're just going to let these guys compete. They're all run stoppers. You certainly don't have any sort of elite pass rushing defensive tackle right now. And again, that's something that they could address next year as well. That's what I'm saying. I think what Ziegler did this year with the draft and what he's done so far in the offseason is give himself some time for next offseason where he have a full draft. He can draft a right tackle, a pass rushing defensive tackle, those, positions without having to break the bank. Because we know how the Patriots ran their organization, not necessarily breaking the bank for a lot of guys, one here and there, but that's just not going to be the way the Raiders do it anymore.
So I do see on here is a very interesting name on this list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I haven't even heard his name. And I heard his name last year a few times that the Raiders should go get him. Mm-hmm. Carlos Dunlap. Mm-hmm. That's a very interesting name there. Even though we did get Chandler Jones and we still have Max Crosby, but I don't know what our depth is after that. Because we don't know what Cleveland Farrell was going to play now, since Patrick Graham is the defensive coordinator. We don't know because they talking about putting him at linebacker. He played a little bit of D tackle last year, played a little outside, edge last year as well. So we don't know what's going to happen with Cleveland Farrell. Carl Nassib is no longer there. I know he's 33 years old and he did have a better season last year, but do you think that would be a good depth piece, for us to get, behind Chandler Jones and Max Crosby with Carlos Dunlap?
Yeah. If you really look at the depth, okay, Crosby and Jones, those are going to be your 1 and 2 punch. We all know that, but every team knows that too. They don't really have a whole lot of depth behind them as far as, that hybrid defensive end, outside linebacker position that we know Patrick Graham is going to, run. That's why Yannick Ngakoue is no longer a Raider, because he just wasn't going to fit that mold. I definitely think Carlos Dunlap, I know there hasn't been any talk with the Raiders, but I think my point was sort of just the scheme fit. what he could bring as a depth
Mhm.
piece behind Jones, behind Crosby, either one. Because again, we don't know exactly what they're going to do with Cleveland Farrell. I know he said that during the interview, but we have yet to see on the field how they're going to plan. Obviously, this is going to get cleared up once training camps get started. We're going to see, where he's lining up, where he's getting his snaps at. But for now, I definitely, if I was the Raiders, yes, I would definitely jump on Dunlap. He still had an effective season last year, despite being 33, man. So obviously, he still has something to prove. He brings championship pedigree. He brings familiarity with that sort of scheme, playing that position, that hybrid position, because if you think about it, that's what also I mentioned not Carlos, but Landon Collins. Patrick Graham's scheme is relying on a lot of versatility, a lot of moving pieces that play more than one position, so whether it's in the backfield, whether it's in the front seven, whatever it may be. That's why I did list Dunlap as a position, as a possibility, I should say. But like you said too, it depends on the money too. I don't think he's gonna come into a team and play for the veteran minimum either. So he still brings a lot.
He's getting up there in age. So if he had, even if he had a good year last year, they're gonna try to do it the Patriots way. Well, the Raider way, as you can say now. So and 3 numbers said you wouldn't want Ndamukong Suh. Let me just highlight this real quick. You said you wouldn't want Suh. Don't get me wrong. I think both of us would want Ndamukong Suh. The question is, how much does Ndamukong Suh want?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to. The pricing. It comes down to what he wants. How much guaranteed money does he want? And can the Raiders really afford that? At this moment, I just don't think the Raiders can afford that. I mean, we getting about what? We were getting like 20 million after June 2nd, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then also the other thing too is he really going to leave the Bucs, man? He's in a perfect position right now to go for another Super Bowl. With Brady coming back. That's not to say, the Raiders are not going to be a playoff contender or anything like that. I know we haven't gotten into that yet, but I mean, he's going to go with the sure thing with the Bucs. He would be leaving, whether it's the Raiders or anybody else. He would be leaving a very sure thing with Brady going back. They're easily the favorites in the NFC, at least one of the top 3. Just with Brady coming back alone. So yeah, I just don't see it happening, man. Whether it's the money, whether it's the team itself, but you never know. You never know with Ziegler. So that's right. Too. Yeah.
You never know, because I mean it was so much talk about, which we're going to get into the Devontae Adams thing as well. But a lot of people I was getting on the fence to a point, like, okay, the Raiders is what they're going to do with this Devontae Adams. That all these rumors are coming out, and then unexpectedly, boom, we traded for him during free agency. And that was epic in itself. But we're going to get more into that because I want to get more into these, still free agent targets. But a former Raider is on this list, though, Vincent Mayowa.
Yeah,
and you said you wrote this one, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I did like him when he was here. I just think he never really had a chance, to really show his talent with the rotation of the defensive line. And he was with the Seattle Seahawks as well. And I think he bounced around to some other teams. But what made you put him on the top 10?
I think strictly as just a cheap depth addition. Obviously in 2020, he actually had a really good year in 2020 by his standards. I mean, 6 sacks, 7 tackles for a loss, 3 pass deflections. He was still effective in Seattle's system, but obviously 2021 kind of just fell off, So strictly speaking, if they need a depth piece, cheap, he's not going to command any sort of big money or anything. That's somebody they could look after. But I mean, if you had your choice, I mean, you got to go with Dunlap. if that is what you're trying. Do you want to go with the cheap option with potential upside, but going to be relatively cheap, or do you want to spend a little bit and get Dunlap, and get something that gets someone in there that is going to provide quality depth behind Jones and Crosby? That's just my opinion.
And speaking of the wide receiver position, knowing that we've been hearing rumors about Hunter Renfrow getting a contract extension, I did put a small video out about that as well. If y'all have not checked that out, make sure y'all check that out here on the Spotlight Raiders Talk. Brian Edwards got traded. We added some other receivers like Mac Hollins and some unknown receiver from the Houston Texans. I forgot his name. I did a little video on him as well. I totally forgot his name. He really didn't play any games, but Houston, he been on a practice squad. But we got a lot of depth pieces at the wide receiver position. And on your Raiders free target list, you have T.Y. Hilton there. Mm-hmm. This is a very interesting one for me because he couldn't stay healthy with the Colts the last couple of seasons. So I'm kind of nervous about what his health is like, especially he had a neck injury too. So that was a big concern. Once I see it on the article like T.Y. Hilton, I know he has the talent, and I know that he's still good when he's healthy. So what made you put him on this list as a wide receiver to go get? Because I know he can play the number 2 receiver but his size, he looks like a slot receiver in some sort. So I want you to break this down to me about T.Y. Hilton because I'm not really too sure about it as a number 2.
Yeah. Well, first of all, he wouldn't be the number 2. We all know who number 2 is. You know what I mean? Right. So let's get that out of the way. I think what a lot of people are concerned about is that, okay, you have Devontae Adams, you have Hunter Renfrow, that's, and obviously Waller at the tight end position. But after that, there's like a sharp drop off. You know what I mean? Right. That's why I also put, I'm sure you noticed Odell Beckham Jr. as well.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people are saying, a lot of people are like, oh, what's the fascination with Odell? And it's not so much that there's a fascination. It's just that if the Raiders can pick up either one of these guys, now both of them are coming off injuries, major injuries at that. Mm-hmm. So, but if they're healthy, I mean, you mean to tell me that an offense with the 3 I just mentioned and either Hilton or Odell isn't going to be loaded? I mean, that's quite the passing attack right there. But again, I think going back to your original question about Hilton, I think it's just looking at his health. If he's truly healthy, he still has some of the best body control, man. He's had, just as a possession receiver, and he'll still get you yards. And last time I checked, the Raiders are trying to improve the red zone. He can still be a red zone threat. He'll get you touchdowns, which is what the Raiders need more of anyways. So I think that's the thing with these 2 guys, if they're healthy. I know Odell's the sexy, trending, like everybody wants him on his team, Cowboys, Rams. I know Rappaport says that more than likely he might end up back with the Rams anyways after all this is, said and done. Mm-hmm. But as we've both seen already, you just don't know with Ziegler. We don't know what's going to happen after June 1st. What about when camp gets, rolling? What if they decide, what, we do need the 3rd receiver, or at this point, the 4th receiver, because Waller is, technically the 3rd. So that's mostly why I picked these 2 guys. They're obviously the flashiest names. I get that. But, I mean, if you're going to go all in, you better go all in. You know what I mean?
Now, if I had to pick, I mean, I will go with Odell over T.Y. Hilton. And I don't know if Odell's going back to the Rams because it's going to be hard for him to try to compete with Allen Robinson. Because Allen Robinson did sign with the Rams as well. So I think, Odell is on the outside looking in. And, we do have Keelan Cole, but Keelan Cole he's good, but is he an Odell or T.Y. Hilton? No. But he definitely can contribute to this offense. And
to last with the webs I'm weaving, I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop competing. If you